Welcome back, guys. So today we are going to be talking about one of the most important topic in stock market investing, which is about dividend investing, right? I made a post on X about the dividend I received from one of the companies I invested in Nigeria. As some of you will know, I have a portfolio here in the UK and I have a portfolio in Nigeria. So when I made that post, there are lots of comments, and some of those comments, with the questions they are asking, it made me realize that majority don't actually understand how dividend investing works. Because someone is asking me, oh, I invested in a company a weeks ago and 2 weeks after they have not received dividend. That tells me the person don't understand how dividend works. Somebody will say, oh, they received certain amount from a particular company, a different amount from a particular company, even though they have invested so much money in the other company that they received less. So that tells me something as well, that these people don't understand how dividend works. So that is why I said, okay, if we have people like that don't understand how dividend works, then there may be other people as well who don't understand how it works. So I decided to make this video about dividend investment. So first off, what is dividend investing, right? So there are ways that you make money in the stock market, and one of the ways you make money in the stock market is through dividend investing. So when you invest in a company and that company is sharing their profits with you as an investor, that is what dividend investing is all about. Dividend can be a very good source of passive income because you don't have to do any physical work. All you need to do is own the share of the company. When you own the share of the company, that company is now saying, thank you, our investor, for owning the share in our company. This is your own part of the profit that we have made. That is what dividend is all about. So some people decided that this is the part of investing that they want to be involved with. So they only invest in companies that pay dividend, so that this company will be generating some cash flow for them. That is another strategy in investing. Another strategy in investing can be to invest in a company that is focused on growth. Then you make a lot of money through capital appreciation. So those are ways that you make money in the stock market. Now, if you want to focus on dividend investing, there are certain things that you need to understand about dividends. Because if you don't understand some of these things, you are going to make mistake in this journey. One is that dividend is not always guaranteed. When I say dividend is not always guaranteed, it means you can invest in a company today and that company is paying dividend, and maybe in the next 3 months or 6 months, the company can decide that we are not going to pay dividend again, our investor, because of these reasons. They'll give you the reason why they are not paying dividend again. One of the reasons can be something terrible happened to the company. The company can become unprofitable. Look at 2020 when COVID happened. Majority of companies stopped paying their dividend, right? Company can become unprofitable and they will stop paying the dividend, because look at it from a perspective of you owning a business. If you own a business and that business became unprofitable, are you going to still be paying your investor? Or if you want to grow the business further and the money you are making is not enough to grow that business further, will you rather invest back into the business, or you will still be paying investors some dividend? Meanwhile, if you invest back into the business to grow the business further, at the end of the day, everyone will still win. So these are sort of things you need to consider. Companies can cut their dividend. It has happened during COVID. But there are some companies that pay reliable dividend as well, that have been paying it for years, 20, 30 years. In fact, there are some companies called Dividend King. Dividend King are companies that have been paying and have been increasing their dividend payment for the last 50 years. And we have Dividend Aristocrat as well. They have been paying dividend, increasing their dividend for the last 25 years. So even if you want to consider investing in dividend, you can consider some of this reliable company. Bear in mind that everything I shared in this post are not financial advice, but they are just for educational purpose. Now, the second thing is the yield that they pay for dividend, the yield that each company pay differs. A company can start paying you 1% dividend. Another company can pay you less than 1%. Another company can pay you 5%. And another company can decide to pay you 10% or even 15%. So it depends on each company, the amount of dividend they want to be paying to their investors. So that is the reason why you see somebody invest in a certain company and receive a certain amount of dividend, another person invest in other company and receive a certain amount of dividend. So the yield differs. another thing you should bear in mind is the frequency of dividend payment. The frequency of dividend payment also differs. Some company will pay you once a year. Some company will pay you twice a year. Some company will pay you every quarter. And some company will pay you every month. So we have some company that pay monthly dividend. Like in the US, we have some REITs, real estate investment trust, that pays monthly dividend, like realty income. We have some that pay on quarterly basis. So there are so many things like that that you need to consider in. Now, another factor that is important when you are investing in dividend stocks is there are some dates that are important. There is the most important date is the ex-dividend date. This ex-dividend date is like a cutoff date for the share that you want to buy. If you own a share of a company before you own the share of a company before the ex-dividend date and you sold it before that ex-dividend date, you are not going to be paid a dividend. But if you own a share on the ex-dividend date stated by the company, you are going to be paid dividend for that company. If you now sell your shares after the ex-dividend date, in fact, it might be the following day after the ex-dividend date, you are still going to receive the dividend from that company. Now, another one, if you now buy some shares after the ex-dividend date, those shares will not be qualified for what? For the upcoming dividend. So this ex-dividend date is so important. So you need to own a share of a company on their ex-dividend date and you are going to get paid for it. Any share purchased after the ex-dividend date, you are not going to get paid for it. Take, for instance, you buy a share in, say, Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola said their ex-dividend date is August 21. So you need to, all the shares you own up until August 21, you will receive dividend on those shares. Any shares purchased after August 21, you are not going to receive dividend on those. So these dates are important. So these are some of the things that you need to consider if you want to consider investing in dividend stocks. And trust me, some people are living on dividend because they have identified this strategy and it has worked for them. So they only invest in companies that pays them. But for it to make sense, you need to be focused on your investing and invest consistently. When you invest consistently and you reinvest those dividends you receive as well, compound interest will kick in and this will catapult your return as well. And in turn, it will be giving you a lot of passive income. It's not just one day that dividends start to make sense. You need to have invested a bit into that stock before the dividend will now start to make sense. So I hope you find this video helpful. And on your investing journey, I hope now you'll be making some right choice when you are investing. And this will be all for today's video. We are going to discuss another thing in the next video. Please follow and share. Subscribe to the channel as well if you find the video interesting.